Hi guys, and welcome to our WIU 2020 Coronavirus Motor Clinic. So for today, we're just going to be going over a couple of things with you. The focus for today is going to be running and locomotor movements, and we're also going to be doing some object control, throwing and catching with you guys. So we're going to do a warm-up activity with you guys, which is going to be through your Exercise Buddy app, which we'll discuss here in a second. And we're also going to do 3 activities like I just mentioned. The activities we're going to do are called Runaway Assembly Line, Colored Snowballs, and Grocery List. We think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it, and let's follow along and get started. Everybody open up your Exercise Buddy app and let's have some fun today.
Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing 10 exercises through your Exercise Buddy app. You can find more details about them on the actual app. So the first one is going to be the butterfly. You're going to hold this pose for 10 seconds. Okay, so then the next one is going to be the bird. For this one, you're going to want to hold it for 15 seconds. The next pose is going to be the dog. For this one, you're also going to hold it for 15 seconds. So then the next one is going to be the crossover elbow march. This one you're going to do 10 times with each leg. So it's going to be 20 in total. The next one is going to be the letter jumping. So for this one, you're going to do 10 jumps to each letter. And if you can't jump to all of them, you can just go back and forth. The next one you're going to do is called scooter. For 1 minute, you're going to scooter roll. So then for the next activity, you're going to do the ladder march forward. So for this one, you're going to go through the ladders 10 times and you're going to switch your foot each time. So then after that, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to go to side, which is called the ladder march side to side. So you're going to go through it 10 times, switching your foot each time. And the second to last activity we're going to do is called the low back rotation. So for this one, you're going to hold it for 15 seconds. And then for this last one, it's called the single leg balance. You're going to hold it for 15 seconds on each leg. And that's our activities for today. If you need more instructions on it, you can go to your Exercise Buddy app and they'll be there.
All right guys, so now that we've gone through our Exercise Buddy warm-up, we're going to our first activity, which is called Runaway Assembly. So what Runaway Assembly is we are simulating what it would be like to work on an assembly line in a factory, and our machinery is broken down and it's spitting products out all over the floor. So it's our role as workers to retrieve it and make sure we're putting things into boxes so they can still get shipped out. So the way Runaway Assembly works is we have our course set up here, As you can see, we have cones for boundaries and pool noodles for boundaries. So you can kind of work the course as it's set up. The way the game is going to work is us as workers or students are going to start in this column of the assembly line. So, my foreman or your teacher or parent is going to be at the top of the assembly line calling out different movements that you're supposed to work on the assembly line in. So if the foreman wants you to run through the assembly line, you run. If he wants you to skip, you're going to skip through the assembly line. The big thing is, you're going to run to the middle, retrieve one of the runaway objects, and put it into the respective bin. So, some modifications that we can make here as parents and educators to make this more challenging is we can be throwing items out to our students, we can roll them out there, we can hand them to them, just any kind of way to get them thinking about a different way of manipulating that object. Also, as the foreman or parent or teacher, we can also think about how we want our kids to move. Because again, we can call out, I want you to run through the assembly line, skip, hop, roll, crawl. Be creative with it. So, and again, another possible modification before I forget, is changing the items that are thrown out here. So if I have red, blue, and green items, I could have 3 baskets at the end of my assembly line for red, blue, and green items. And I want my student to match those and put them into the container. So, without further ado, we're going to give you guys a quick demonstration. We'll go over a couple of things at the end. So, as you can see here, Allison is going to be our foreman. She'll be throwing out objects to me, and I will be the worker running through the course so you guys can see it in full action. So, without further ado, we'll show you guys what's going on.
All right, let's start with running. Run through the course. Ready?
All right. That's one way we can do it. So, a couple other things we could do is change, again, what we're doing down here with our containers. So as you can see, we put everything in the bucket this time. One possible mod we can make is, as you can see, we've got yellow, blue, and red in here. We could have said just yellow goes in here, any other color goes in the book bag. Again, just kind of getting that idea of matching things to their respective place. Another thing we want to focus on is listening skills here. Because again, like I did, we take all orders from the foreman. We work on listening to that person in charge of the lesson. And a couple other things too that you may have noticed is just, again, working on staying within the lines, make sure we're following the rules of our factory, our assembly line. And again, just pay attention to what's going on. This is a really, really great drill for working on hand-eye, our locomotor skills, our listening skills, our job skills. It's going to be a really great activity for the students, and it's very flexible. So, some things we can do at home. As you can see, we have all these cones, pool noodles, these buckets, the backpacks, etc. laid out. This is very easy to do at home. So, you might be thinking, well, how am I going to do this at home? They've got all these elaborate colors. You could have just a piece of chalk you could draw within the driveway. You could use newspaper, just wad it up and put little balls on the ground. You could use some spray paint the grass. And if you go online, there's tons and tons and tons of different ways you can figure out on how to set up your yard, your basement, your rooms to represent the equipment that you would need for this task. So without further ado, we are going to move on to our second activity, which is colored snowballs. All right, guys, so the second activity we're doing is called colored snowballs. So the idea of this activity is we're going to start at our snow fort where Allison is standing right now. We are going to have our snowballs, which are just sheets of paper, lined up in front of us. And we're going to have some different throwing positions. Or if you want to just have one throwing position, that's fine. I have it set up with 3 for this activity here. And we're also going to have a container or an enemy snow fort or an igloo if you want, set up at the other end that we're supposed to throw our snowball at or in. So the way this activity will work is we have a label on our opposition snow fort. In this case, we have the label dogs on it. And as you can see here, we have some somewhat beautiful hand-drawn pictures of dogs that Allison will be in charge of running up to, grabbing, crumpling up into a snowball, and throwing at that igloo. So what I can do now, as the administrator of the activity, is say, Allison, I want you to grab the picture of a dog, throw it at the dog igloo from the second throwing position. So, again, if you look at our throwing positions, we have 3. So, again, as the administrator, I'm going to want to make sure she knows that I'm counting 1, 2, 3, and not 1, 2, 3. So, the way this is going to work, Allison, our throwing positions, the one closest to the bucket is 1, the one in the middle is 2, and the one at the end is 3. Remember, I want you to throw from the second position with the dog picture at the dog igloo, okay? And for this first snowball, I want you to hop to the throwing position and back. Sound good? All right, go ahead. And as you can see, she stops on the second one. Oh, good try. Let's hop on back. All right, good job, Allison. All right, so let's review some things here real quick. So as we saw, she hopped all the way to the throwing position I wanted her to throw it. She threw it at our dog igloo. And as you can see here, she threw the picture of a dog. So that was a great first run. So there are some ways we can modify this again. We can move our throwing positions around. We could take away some throwing positions. And again, just like we did with our runaway assembly line, we can change that locomotor movement we want them to perform. So Allison, this time through, I want you to throw the picture of a dog at the dog igloo, but I want you to run the throwing position 1 and throw it. Go ahead and go. Great job. So again, this is just another way we can modify that activity by changing the structure of it. And again, you guys don't have to use birds and dogs like we did. You guys can use fruits and vegetables, you can use letters and numbers, colors. Be creative with it. Don't feel trapped into one thing. And again, we only have 2 throwing obstacles up. If you want to have 3, 4, just 1, feel free to do that. This is your activity. Change it up as you see fit. Now, as far as, well, I don't have these items at home, what can I do? Again, there's a lot of different ideas you can take online. If you have pieces of wood or something, you can set up as your snow fort there. If you have a sofa they can stand behind and jump over and go to something, that's a viable idea. If you're outside, again, spray paint some markers. Have some cardboard boxes. I know we all have Amazon boxes from March, so feel free to use those now. And now, without further ado, we're going to move on to our third activity, grocery list.